else you need?
Can I use my sink?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't use this sink, but yeah, you could use the other. You have what, a couple bathrooms in here?
Grab those bags and take them back up to the truck.
Well, so are we gonna come back a different day, or are we gonna call someone else out? Because that's 3 bags and just 2 guys. Today? Yo, what's up, man? Fresh, first day on the job. What's poppin'? Just passed that Bud Light Stockton.
Nice to meet you. Are those the only shoes you brought?
Yo, you like them? Y'all don't got AC?
Not out here.
That's sus, bro. What's up, baby? What's it do? Man, it's gonna be me and you out there in the streets, you know what I'm saying? Slanging and banging. You and me all day, every day. What?
Fresh air.
Bussin', bro. Man, what y'all got up in the fridge, dude? Oh, apple juice! You should get me on there, man, with a fit check. With the flat cap bill, rocking them Jordan 4s, right? With the Home Hero shirt. I've gone to shops where literally guys have pulled me aside and be like, man, I love all this stuff you're teaching, but if I do this, I'll be out till midnight. They're just gonna give me more calls. And it's heartbreaking. It's like, man, what's the real goal here? Like, if I've got 12 tables in a restaurant and I can serve those 12 people and give them the best experience ever and I can be profitable, if I wanna make more money, I'm gonna add a 13th table. I'm not gonna add a 13th customer. Meaning I'm gonna increase my capacity. I'm not just gonna shove more people into my capacity. My room fits 56 people and I wanna sell more tickets to my event. I either have to increase the capacity or hold separate events. I can't put 115 people into a room of 57 people.
They want a tankless and a softener installed. They don't have either, and they've already been approved for financing.
What's that got to do? So you want me to go out there and do that call?
Well, they also say they've been having trouble with their sewer line and been wanting to replace it for a while, but they can't find somebody who they like to do it, but they think they trust us.
I don't want to have to work super hard to get it though. You want me to repipe the house, put it in the tankless, softener. You say something about a sewer line?
That's what it looks like. I think we should go check it out, man.
No, bro, this is ridiculous. And is this commission?
Yeah, I already talked to the owner about it. He wants to actually double your commission on it because it's such a big job.
No. So you want me to go out there, you want me to run this call, it's a bunch of work and a bunch of money or whatever, but it's also a bunch of taxes, and you're gonna have people out there helping me, watch me, do what I do, and then you want me to get it done faster so I make even more money, and then I have to, take another call because now I'm done by Thursday or something?
What else are you gonna be doing instead here, Steve? This is the job, man.
You got any odor smells or anything like that on there? Like maybe like in a different, maybe just... Why does on-call suck? Well, look, here's the thing. Most companies that do on-call 24/7 after hours, they don't treat it the same way that they do during normal hours. They have a full staff and they have a full support system if someone calls between 8 and 5. But then after hours, they don't have a CSR, they don't have a supply staff, they don't have a lot of other things, and they want to go out and charge the same rates to the customer, if not even more, because they're doing after hours work. If you want to charge more and do on-call, then provide more service after hours. If you can't provide at least the same service that you provide during the day after hours, then you shouldn't do it. Think of it like an emergency room. Not every doctor is open after hours, but emergency rooms have a full staff after hours. Be an emergency room or be a doctor. But you gotta pick one and make sure that whatever you pick, you can service to the full. When there's no plumbers to hire, there's still a lot of plumbers that don't work for you working in your city. You're just not known enough. And so everybody tries to be just known enough because you don't want to overspend your marketing. And he goes, well, what do you do with all the money you spend on leads that you can't get to? And I'm like, well, what do you do with all the money you don't make when you're slow? See how this goes both ways? So I would rather spend a couple extra thousand every month and waste it and be known and have leads and momentum and be moving forward and I can hire into than to have that day, just one day when I'm slow. It'll be a couple grand in revenue off of one truck that we don't get.
It's that time again!
You've now entered the No Sales Zone.
No Sales Zone.
Where Chris Fresh,
the plumbing sales coach,
peels back the curtain of what sales really is. Buckle up, and get ready to learn how to increase ticket average by providing better service. And now. Your host,
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
CF.
The plumbing sales coach.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Fresh Approach. I'm your host, CF, the plumbing sales coach, and I've got one for you tonight. We've got a special guest and somebody that's been doing this for a while, and I cannot wait to share and have him come on. He has got so much to offer. This is going to be a very valuable episode. You don't want to miss it. And what he talks about tonight is not only going to help you with your ticket average, not only help you with your customer experience, but it's also going to help you with the value of the company. So if you're an owner, pay attention, because this guy has helped over 160 or right at 160 service plumbing companies sell, and he knows exactly how to do it and what it takes. And I'm telling you, if you're a service plumber watching this tonight, if you're a CSR, if you're a manager, heck, if you're not even in plumbing, tonight we're going to correlate how this really works, because the thing that raises the value of the company is also the thing that raises the value for the customer. So much to dive into, so much to unpack. But before we get too far into it, what up, everybody? What up, what up, what up? We just got done having a 2-day, 1.5-day event back in Indianapolis. We had over 100 plumbers and owners in the building, and we dove deep into people. We dove deep into personality types. I'm going to give you guys a couple takeaways tonight. But before we do that, I want to say what's up to Mary Sperlin White on here. What up, what up? Logan William in the house. Tyler Fresh in the house, the producer. Andrew Cornwell Plumbing, my boy, the one and only. Drew, good to see you, bro. What up, what up? Let's see, we got Raylene Miller. Missed not having the show last week. We missed not doing the show, but I was at a leadership conference, 4 days. First time I've taken a break like that in about 8 years. But man, it didn't feel like a break. Emotional week. Anytime you grow, anytime you get stretched, it's emotional, it's powerful, and it's worth it. Paul Opson says, "I'm ready. I'm here and ready to learn." Paul, I thought you got enough of me at the event we just did. I thought you had enough of that already, but you're back for more. Good to see you. Shauna Dobbs sends 50 stars. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you for the stars. What up, Paul Opson? Andrew throwing a what's up back to you. Patrick Heron, good to see you. Chesco Plumbing in the room. We got Lisa Hammond on here. Good to see you. Keith and Lindsay Hunt says, Keith and Lindsay Hunt, what a weekend. They came all the way down from Canada. They drove all the way down from Canada, and they came to this day and a half event. Joe Castro says, what up, Fresh? Good to see you. Lisa says, what up, what up? Dominic says, great weekend. Dominic, it was great meeting you. It was great meeting all the people that came. It's so fun to meet you guys in person, for you guys to get a chance to meet me and see if I'm real. I know so many people have something to say on the internet, man. My comment section gets filled up. And here's a little takeaway. A lot of people ask me, like, man, how do you handle them comments? Because we get killed in the comments sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We get a little killed in the comments. But that's just not where my focus is. I'm not worried about chasing people who don't want to be impacted. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to people like you, people who are willing to get better, people who are willing to invest in themselves. You're investing in yourself right now by taking the time out to watch the show. What's up, Daniel, Gustavo? Good to see both of you guys. Aquaflush Plumbing in the house. David Wayne Simmons, good to see you. Brian Matthews just started Fortress Plumbing. Love your advice. Man, I love that you started a business. Good for you. Haley says, was such a great weekend. And it was a good weekend. It really was. And so much value was added because we had Lucas there. Lucas has done over $1 million in plumbing out of his truck the last 3 years in a row. He's a plumber. Guy's done it. Guy's still in the field. He was there talking. We had a service manager there, cost talking. He's talking, hey, CJM loved this weekend. Thank you, Blair. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that Chris loved it. Glad to hear that Ed loved it. Good to see your team here. So good to see you. Cord Needham, Hickory, North Carolina, one Tom Plumber. One Tom for the one Tom. Vern Bison, Plumbing, Warren, Michigan. Bro, Michigan. He says great stuff. All right. Tonight we got a doozy for you. Tonight we got something really powerful for you. Also, we got Dorinda over on YouTube. Whoop, whoop. Mr. Potty in the house. Brady says it's time. Hey, look, it is time. We're gonna unpack this thing. I don't know where to look anymore. I got things everywhere. We're gonna unpack this thing tonight. We're gonna break it down for you. We're gonna rip it apart and put it back together, because there's so much to be said about providing service, about providing an experience, and really giving your customer just something to remember. You know, one of the things we talked about at the event was like, this is an opportunity, an absolute opportunity. It's a privilege, right? You get the chance to go into someone's home. You get the chance to go into their home when they're not doing the best. They're not having their best days. They don't want us in there. They definitely don't want their ceiling to cry. They definitely don't want their poop water to come back in the house and get on stuff. Yeah, they don't want us in there. Now, they love that it's you that comes in their house when they have to have you come in the house, but they don't want you in the house. They want to do what they already planned on doing that day. They want to just do the picnic they had planned, or they just want to go to the store, or they just want to go to the appointment, or maybe they woke up that day with an important meeting at work. Maybe they woke up ready for a job promotion or an interview. And now this is going on. And we're like, man, they weren't very nice to me at the front door. They just want me in and out. Maybe they got something going on. Maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's not so personal. Doesn't have to be. What's up, Stefan? Local Trenches. Good to see you. Scott McPhail, Proper Plumbing, all the way out of Ramona, California. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're plumb. Also, how long have you been a plumber? And has it all been service? It's funny as I put, I'm a t-shirt guy. If you come to my events, I'm t-shirts and jeans. And I just don't really dress up. And for all the reasons you probably don't want to dress up if you don't like dressing up. And I went to this event and, I put on a shirt and a tie and I put on a jacket and I was looking all snazzy. And they got some photos of me and some video of me. And then they put those on the internet. And now I'm getting killed because I'm wearing a suit. Can't win. Can't win with some of these people. And it feels like that in the house sometimes. So we're going to dive into this tonight. We're going to talk about 4 main things that really impact your ability to perform. And tonight it's about the things you're doing really don't have anything to do with talking, really don't have anything to do with questions, really don't even have to do anything with diagnosing. This is 4 things, 4 things that you got to be doing. Paul says, Katy, Texas, 29 years, done it all. Man, been plumbing for a while. Matthew says, Virginia, 7 years. David Wayne says, Mechanicsville, Virginia, 25 years. Stefan says, DMV Plumbing. Love your content, brother. Residential service here in Detroit. Pipes are calling. Danny Boy Plumbing in the house. 28 years in the industry. Good for you. Johnny Gibson, Plumb Right Plumbing, Springfield, Missouri. That's a blast from the past. Johnny, it's good to see you as always. Tell us where you're at. Tell us where you're at. Tell us where you're at. So we got 4 things we want to cover tonight, and these are some basic things. They can be basic, but they can be complex in nature. So here's what we're going to do. We've got a gentleman on here by the name of Patrick. Now, this gentleman is very seasoned in the industry, absolutely understands what it takes. In fact, he has sold or been a part of selling 160 different plumbing companies, ranging in all different shapes and sizes. And he's got some insight. Anytime somebody's done something 160 times, they're either massively failing and they just keep trying, or they're doing something right. And this gentleman's done something right. In fact, we brought him on not too long ago into one of our master's programs. So we have different levels of programs to help companies, some that just trains techs, some that trains the owners, some that equips the company with all the, almost like a business in the box, a complete playbook on how to run your business, how to run your calls, how to do everything. And so we asked Patrick to come in. And he came in and did a whole level 4 kind of training, one of our higher levels. I don't know if I like him anymore because some of my people said that's one of our best trainings. And I was like, I don't know how to take that because we had a guest on and you said that was one of our best trainings. And then after I got done crying, I came back and I said, all right, maybe this guy's got something. What do we got over here on YouTube? Learned a lot this weekend. Brandon from Next Level Plumbing in Florida. It was great meeting Next Level Plumbing. Great meeting you guys. Dorinda says our team loved day 1 so much they came early to get the front row on day 2. Yeah, and people won stuff, man. We gave away about $6 or $7, maybe even $8,000 worth of stuff. It was crazy. It was crazy. One Tom Plumber, Milton, Brampton. Guelph in Canada. Brampton. All right, what's up? We work with some companies. Plums Up was here from Toronto. Cornwall, New York. Austin, Texas in the house. My boy Brandon Graham. Anytime Brandon Graham's on the show, the comments just went up by 100. Train Genders R Us, LLC from Jersey. Freshness, he says. I love that, dude. I love you, Brandon. I'm not like in love with you, but I kind of am. What up, Jimmy Brown, Poseidon Plumbing, Ocean City, Maryland, 23 years. I went to Ocean City when I was younger in the Navy. It's a wild place. That's a wild place. New Braunfels, Texas, 9 years, responsible master plumber. We work with a great company out of Seguin, just right by you, brother, right by you, Seguin. Lucas was there. He says, "What's up, Fresh?" He was at the event. Brandon Graham's on comment number 23 already. Love it. Love it. Blowing kisses. All right. I want to bring Patrick. And I'm going to bring him on here. Let's go ahead and get him on the show. Tim and Christine Sanchez says, "What's up, brother? Thanks for hosting my team. You're welcome." They were great, Tim. They were great. They represented well. Patrick, what's up? How you doing? Pronounce your last name? Is it Lange or Lang? I was nervous to say it. Patrick
No
Lang.
worries,
Okay.
it's Lang. You're fine. I've
Lang,
been called
okay.
a lot of things. Messing that up won't be the worst, I can promise you.
Well, if you go to my Facebook page and you look at the videos or TikTok or Instagram, I get called a lot of things too. Right now. Vince says, "Well, what? Snyder Plumbing, Jacksonville, Florida." We got a lot of people on the show watching tonight. They're commenting from all over the world, Patrick. So we'll bounce back and forth with them, try to get their questions answered. If you got questions, make sure you start queuing them up. But we've got some stuff to cover. Okay, we've got some stuff to cover. And honestly, I remember doing the training with you, and my team loved it so much. I was like, man, and I know people come on and they say different things like, "Oh, we had Patrick on and he was great," but they loved it. And I'll never forget because of how much they liked it. And like I said, I was a little jaded, I normally do those trainings by myself. And I want to hear him say, "That was the best one ever." And it was just me, but you were on there. So you must have some value to bring. And I really wanted to share that with our bigger audience because what you do, I get questions about all the time. People are always asking me, "Chris, what's it take to sell a company? What's it take to build a company?" And it's funny is when people come into our program, whether they want to buy, whether they want to sell their company or they want to grow their company, scale their company, the answers are kind of the same. I mean, they're really the same. So we're going to dive into that. I think we got four pillars, four topics that we want to talk about. These are different, a little bit framed a little bit different because I want to make sure the whole audience got something out of this night. Service plumbers, the business owners, the CSRs, the office managers. I've already seen comments from every single one of those positions. And some of you that watch the show aren't even in plumbing. If you're not in plumbing, let us know you watch the show. But I hear people say they watch the show because the stuff's so applicable to pretty much anything. And so I really want them to hear this from a perspective that impacts everyone. So we got four things we're going to cover. And we kind of coined it. Tyler, what was the main topic here? If you could flash that up on the screen. We said that, here we go. And I don't know if you can read that, Patrick. My image is a little bit. Go ahead and read that for everyone because my image is
building
not.
a business that scales and serves.
Building a business that scales and serves. So if that's what you want to do or that's what you want to be a part of, let's go ahead and make sure that you get your notebooks out tonight because unlike normal shows, I feel like we teach a lot. We have a lot of fun. We joke around. This is going to be a kind of rapid fire, drinking from a fire hose. There's going to be a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about. King Rooter says, "What's up? What up, what up, what up?" Raylene says, "I'm not a plumber. I'm not even in plumbing. Never heard of plumbing. But I like it. I spent money on plumbing." Ashley says, "Look, Vince Heilman, this one is an amazing training. We need to watch this one." Brandon says, "Just your heart, soul, and life." I love you, bro. I love you. All right, Patrick. The first point we're going to talk about tonight, and this is kind of like a softball for everybody watching, something that we're used to talking about. But we're going to talk about having a positive footprint, such as a good brand. And really, I think the way we titled this one, the first point is that, no matter if you're, and again, I'm going to have you read that because I really cannot see these tonight. What is that first point?
Yeah, building value without words.
Building value without words. So, Patrick, what are some things, and listen to him as he's talking because it's applicable whether you're walking up to that front door and making a first impression or someone's coming into town to buy your business. It's the same thing. What are some major takeaways for everybody that they need to understand when it comes to this topic, having that positive footprint?
Well, there's so many of them, but I think the first thing people look for is Google, right? They're going to look for reviews. What are they saying about you without you necessarily being there? Now, obviously, some people become keyboard warriors and go on and say things that maybe not be 100% true or accurate. But really, a buyer, when we go to market with a business, everything we do is confidential initially. So when they're researching the business, when they finally find out the name of the business, they're going to go on and say, what does the public say about them? What is their image that they say? What do their vans look like? What do their plumbers or technicians look like when they show up to someone's house? All of those things all build value, and it's not necessarily with words.
So it's not just so because we talk about the customers go on and read those reviews all the time, and they'll see the different names in the reviews, and maybe like my name's in there, my name's Chris, and it's like, oh, I show up to their house, knock on the front door, and I go, I'm Chris, and that has like they're like, oh, you're the guy from the reviews. So you're saying the same thing's true when someone's buying a company. They're going to go look at those reviews and they're going to go, yeah, does this place have a good reputation? What's the public think about them? Not should I buy plumbing from them, but should I buy their plumbing business? So you're saying the same thing's happening mentally for that buyer?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to research you, and that's the easiest place to go to get a bunch of research, right? Without calling. There's not a seller that says they do a bad job, right? And nobody comes to me and say, hey, we do horrible work and we're cheap and we don't take care of customers. Everybody says they do a great job. And that's one of the first places a buyer can go look and say, is what they're telling us what the customer's feeling and what the community's seeing.
Yeah, I tell the plumbing companies, when you're dispatching your plumber, or if you're a plumber being dispatched, the customer's probably already had a conversation with their spouse and set some expectations and kind of got an idea of what they're looking for and what they're thinking. I assume buyers are doing the same thing. Maybe they get a broker involved and they say, hey, these are a list of things I'm looking for. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so then if that's true, then tell me if this affects things. So this is a little bit different. This is hiring. So I've got a plumbing company. They're actually watching right now. Now they've come a long way. They're one of our biggest success stories. But back in the day, they said, Chris, can't get anyone to come work here. Can't get anyone to come work here. I can't find any good plumbers. There's no good plumbers. And I said, well, maybe you're not worth working for. Just maybe. And so I went and did a search and I found their job ad and I found their name. So I'm thinking and you got to put everyone watching right now, you got to put yourself in their shoes. What is their journey to get to you, the new employee, the customer, or the potential buyer? And so you go on there and you see this job ad and they see a bunch of job ads, right? So they see a bunch of job ads. They see this one and then they go research, like you said, right to Google, right to Facebook. And when you get to this plumbing company's Facebook page, they've got a truck. They've got one of the guys sitting in the truck, but it's a pickup truck. And on the door is a magnet of somebody sitting on a toilet. And I thought, you could say this is a great place. You could say this is professional, but the second they get to that photo, they lose and they move on. Does that happen when people are kind of rolling through the Rolodex of who they might want to buy or who they might want to approach?
Absolutely. Image carries forward, right? If every van you've got is 20 years old and the guys look disheveled and parts are falling off when you show up, that's going to be an impact on your work, right? And that's what they're looking. They're looking to buy quality companies who take good care of their employees and their customers. The reality is many of the buyers in the marketplace today are buying employees, right? It's hard enough to find quality help. And if you've got quality plumbers that have been with you for a long time and are doing a good job and putting a good image out there, that's what they're looking for.
So what other, okay, so they go and they look at these reviews. Are they looking at photos? Are they looking at anything else on these Google or Facebook or wherever they might be at?
Yeah, I think one of the first things they are looking at is names, right? If you're the owner of the business and you have Jim's Plumbing and every review is Jim, 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 one, they're going to be apprehensive. They're going to be worried, right? Are they buying a job? If you're the one doing all the work and you're the only one getting their picture taken, and you're the only one that's in every review, they're going to think you're impossible to replace. And so they like to see 10 different plumbers' names and 10 different reviews and 10 different pictures or whatever number that may be. But they want to see that they're not just buying a job, that they're buying a quality business with good people, good reputation, and systems in place.
Man, that and when we get to point 4, and this is the major point here of people really wanting to buy your business, but also when people join our program, they say, I want to get free. I don't want to be bogged down by my business anymore. And what you just talked about, this idea of building this business around yourself, is so limiting because you might be the cool person in town, you might be known, but then they're all going to need you and want you all the time, and you cannot grow your business in a way that is freeing for you. And then also, you can't build your business in a way that's sellable. People don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business. They want to buy an opportunity. What would be some other things that they would be looking at, or someone might be looking at when they're looking at those photos? Or there's like uniforms, anything like that? Do they care about that kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
Brand
Yeah, absolutely.
congruency?
The look of everything. I mean, you even brought up the point with wanting to hire somebody. Well, if you're looking for a new job and you're looking at the company's pictures and every van's falling apart, are you going to be excited to go to work every day and climb in a van with a falling apart seat and windows that don't roll up and they don't look nice? And the same thing with a buyer. If they're looking at that business and they're thinking, wow, the first thing I've got to do is buy all new vans or trucks. Well, how great of an investment is that? And then I've got to rebrand it and actually make them look nice and actually put the guys or girls in nice uniforms so they show up and are proud of themselves and proud representing the band. So they're looking not only from what's been built, but then what are they going to have to do? And you brought the point up. They're not looking to buy a job. Nobody calls me and says, hey, I want to go plumb for 14 to 16 hours a day and go home and do paperwork at night for another 5 or 6 hours, right? They're looking to buy systems and people and processes already in place, and those images are going to show that.
Yeah, we don't even want to go home for 5 hours at night and do the paperwork. Forget about somebody else wanting to buy that opportunity to go home and do paperwork for 5 hours. I mean, it's so true. I hope you guys are paying attention, because I think a lot of these things are true in life too, though. Like, if you just think about when you're dating, if your life isn't worth sharing, you're selling your business isn't worth having. If you're providing a service, your service isn't worth experiencing. It's all going to end before it starts. The way your van looks, the way your pictures, your images on the internet look, the way you're consistent. How many employees do you have? Well, they don't know that, but they can see different names in the reviews. Whether they're buying the vehicle or wanting to use the company, it's the same. And you got to do these things regardless. I love that. Any other takeaways for people who are really creating a positive footprint? That's kind of what we're calling it, right? But this is branding. This is doing things without saying anything. Like, how can you show up and look professional without saying I'm professional? How can you drive through the neighborhood and say we're worth calling before they hear you say we're worth calling?
Well,
And
I
these are
think
so important.
I think the things we've talked about, but one of the biggest things we see in the trades right now is private equity's big push, right? They're buying all these companies up, and the number one thing I hear from owners is we can't compete. We can't compete against these big, huge companies. And the reality is there's so many opportunities for them to compete, and they don't take advantage of them. Being at the Little League fields, being at the Chamber of Commerce's, participating in the school systems, doing all those things that get you great publicity and typically don't cost any money but take a little bit of your time. And so if I'm researching a company to buy, and when I Google your name, I see you at the church donating your time and at the fair and at the festival and at all these things being involved in the community, to me, it's going to make me feel better about it. And if I'm a customer, if I'm a homeowner, it's going to make me feel better about who you are in the community as well.
Oh my goodness, man. That's a whole episode right there. Just what you said. I mean, it's so important. And we don't understand how we make people feel before we even get a chance to get an opportunity with them. And it's so true. They see you at these events. Do they see you at the event running around yelling at your kids? Like, that's going to ruin everything before it even starts. So they see you being an advocate for the community. They see you helping the community. You're always trying to sell somebody something. Like, not only what are you doing, but how are you doing it? That matters so much. So good. Vince says, I feel like he's calling us out on our old brand. Now, look, bro. So sometimes when you go to church, it feels like the pastor's talking directly to you. I found out recently that could be multiple people in the crowd. He might not be talking to any of you, or he is talking about you, and someone else feels like. CJ says, can we talk about when a company gets too big and forgets about the plumbers that helped them get there, and then they lose all of them in the long run? Yeah, I mean, that happens, CJ, if you don't have great culture. And the people coming in to buy that are even looking at that. They're going to come do a visit. They're going to come get a feel. They want to know if all of the guys are leaving when they buy it, if the customers are still going to stay there when they buy it. But I think that just on that point that you were making, I think another thing that you had mentioned that I heard you say in the training was what we're talking about right here absolutely affects the multiplier. Just really quick before you get into that, there are a couple things to consider. There's the value of your company. the baseline value, and that's going to be figured out through EBITDA. And I'll probably have you break that down a little bit, Patrick, for everyone at home. But what we're talking about right now affects the multiplier on that EBITDA. So if that EBITDA says that you are worth $600,000 and your multiplier is 8, that's going to be 4.8. But if your multiplier is 12, that's going to be 33% more. And it's these things that we're talking about that affect that. Can you tell people a little bit about EBITDA and the multiplier and how this ties into all that?
Absolutely. Someone's going to base the value of your business on a couple things. One is going to be EBITDA, as you're talking about, which is basically how much money as a business you're making. And so they're going to look at a repayment schedule. How long is it going to take them to pay that money back if they were to borrow the money? And that's where that multiple comes in. And a company is going to trade on a range of that multiple. And so a smaller company may say 3 or 4 times. Well, if you've done the things we're talking about, if you have well-trained long-term staff in place and you've got pretty vans and you've got great online reputations, you're going to be at the top of that multiple. If we can't find you online and every review has your name on it and every staff or every plumber's been there 6 months or less, then you're going to be at the bottom of that multiple. So all of those things play into account of where they are, but profitability is the key part of that, right? I don't care if you get a 20-time multiple. If you're not making any money, it's irrelevant. At the end of the day, the important part is what does the check say that you're able to put in the bank? And those things all stack that money or take money away from that. Does that make sense the way I described it?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it kind of reminded me of Shark Tank. It's like these guys are in there fighting over 8% and 9%. And it's like, bro, it's going to be so much more money of that to multiply that percentage by than if you do it on your own. And the same way he's saying right here is like, look, both things are equally important. You've got to run your business in a way that's profitable. You've got to run your truck in a way that's profitable, right? So you can take a paycheck home to your family. You got to run your business in a way that's profitable, and then you've got to have a business worth buying. And it's all these intangibles that multiply the value. The way I've always looked at it, and I'm not a finance guy, but the way I've always looked at it is if I can get the owner, the future owner, to see the potential upside in my business, the more they'll be willing to give me based off the initial value. And it goes back to value stacking and then what we just talked about at this last event. It's like, look, if I go into a home and give someone $300 of value for $300, it's a lot harder to get a yes than if I charge them $1,000 for even just $1,100 of value, because the ROI, which is the key here, the ROI is greater. And in buying a business, there is a predicted ROI. There's a guessed ROI in some ways. And the more beautiful the package of the business, the wraps, the uniforms, the reviews, the response to the reviews, the social media following, all of that stuff can't be measured in the P&L or in the balance sheet or in the cash flow summary, but it can be in the future potentials to those same 3 reports. And so you just understand that. That it all goes together. You can't have one without the other, or you're going to be missing out really on a ton of opportunity. Okay, I want to dive.
Before you switch that, I just want to comment on one thing. And you're saying those things can't be shown in the bottom line. But my opinion, when we look at a company that has a good brand reputation, that has clean trucks, that has good employees, has tenured employees, has all those things, it actually does translate to more money. They are much more profitable when we look at that. They're spending less money on advertising and marketing because they get more repeat and referral business, because they get a deeper share of the customer's wallet, because they're not having to always be trying to attract and retain employees because they have good people and good culture. So those things absolutely do translate to the bottom line. I hate to disagree with you on your own show, but they do. At the end of the day, when we look at a company that has more maintenance agreements and does better service work, has a higher profit every single year.
I don't like to be disagreed with on my show unless I'm wrong, and then I demand it. So if I'm wrong and you're right, I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. Look, I'm telling you right now, I love that. I love how you looked at that. And it's true. It's 100% true. They say that van wraps are the #1 ROI for marketing. And we talk about it all the time inside of our own company. I've got, our van wrap on our tech cave because we believe in it so much. So I believe that. And I think that transcends to the bottom line as well, because the better the culture, the better the environment, the better the version of the human you're working with and you're getting along with, and all of that stuff translates. You're exactly right. I love that. All right. What questions do we have out there? We got a lot of comments. Proper process and cultures builds the foundation. then limit liabilities. Run a 20% EBITDA at the end of the run to ensure the right multiplier. I like that. That falls in line. We do like to see companies at a net profit of 22 to 26%. Net profit's a little bit different than EBITDA, but that's where we like to see companies. And then on top of that, we like to see gross profit around 50 to 55%, which gives you the ability to take some of that gross revenue profits and reinvest them back into your company. Van wraps, billboards, uniforms, all that fun stuff. Do you think you can show potential from analytics that you're missing because you are not capturing every single call? It's an interesting question. So he's basically saying like, hey, does it increase your value or does it help with the sell if you're getting more calls than you can run? Like maybe you're canceling calls because you're too booked out, or you can't book them all because you're too booked out. How does that affect the value of the company?
Yeah, so typically it increases your marketing spend, right? Because you're not maximizing the marketing dollars. And so you'll see a lot of companies with a higher marketing spend and a lower net income because they don't have that part dialed in and managed. So they're having to run more marketing and run more advertising to keep it full because they're losing out on customers who are calling somebody else because they can't get to them.
Okay, look, got to have the right environment to attract the right people to work for you. If you can't get the right people to work for you, you don't have a capacity. You can't grow your revenue. You can't grow your capacity to generate revenue. And then if you're not doing that same thing on the customer side, you're not going to grow the amount of opportunity you have coming in the door. So you have the capacity to capture the opportunity. That's trucks, employees, and all that. And then you have the actual opportunity, which is the lead volume. All right, so I want to drive into the second point, which is know your numbers. And I think, yeah, let's show the team photos. I don't know if you guys can hear my producer, but I just heard him in my ear and it scared me. I was really, maybe, I don't know what just happened. All right, we got Next Plumbing on here. This is a great example of branding, brand congruency, and really getting your team uniforms dialed in. They went from 0 to 4 million in 2 years, crushing it out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Not a major market, not like a market like LA or Atlanta or Texas, or all of Texas is just one market, by the way. Patrick, that's the ongoing joke on here. It's just Texas is its own country. Chris Fresh is the man. Thanks, Cole and Lexi. I appreciate that. Fear keeps you from growth, Brandon says. Amen to that. But this is Next Plumbing. I think we have another one we want to flash up here as well. Home Heroes. Oh, man, look at these guys. Popping. Look at these guys. They used to be Plumbing Doctors and HVAC, which is also a great name. They were gray with blue, just mostly gray, which can be a great color for a cloudy day. But then we rebranded them, and look at these guys popping. Love it. They've grown a cool story about them, Patrick, is this kind of proved that point. They had branded their vehicles and they started on their run. Well, their Google profile got shut down like about 3 months into this rebrand, and it was shut down for 6 months, and they still grew. And they still grew because they did the branding, they did the yard signs, they did the uniforms, they did the community events. Like you said, Ash and Vince were really great about diving into the community and being known and being advocates for their community, supporting and serving their community, and they got the attention of the mayor and everyone else. Then you get public relations involved, which is free publicity. Like you can't buy that when the mayor wants to come by and do they did a ribbon cutting ceremony and everything. It was cool. It's cool. Daniel says, in our market, a master's license is needed to run a company. However, the requirements for said license are a minimum of 10 years. We have 312 masters, average age 68. How should that scenario be approached? I don't quite understand what the question is. He goes, I should have read the rest of it, Patrick. Not necessarily sell the company, but to prolong the standards long-term and entice growth across the. Hey, look, I'll just tell you guys this for quality control. And back to what Patrick's saying, he's going to dive into this in point 4, but you have to have something that produces a consistent result. And you cannot do quality control is the hardest thing to scale in any business, doing anything. And you've got to have that broken down into small. My philosophy is small companies in a big company. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. So knowing your numbers, how many times of the 160 times that you've sold a company, how many times was that a problem, we'll say?
A lot. I hate to put a number on it, but more than not, when I first talk to somebody about their business, I always ask them, what are your gross sales? What's your net income? We go through a few kind of KPIs that are important to me. And then I have them send me their tax returns or their P&L, and often I'm looking at a different tax return or P&L than the person I talked on the phone to. What they were doing a few years ago, or what they thought they were doing, or what they should be doing, the numbers are often drastically different. And most people don't have a good grasp on that, whether it's just understanding it or whether they're putting on paper what they're actually doing. It's a combination of both those things.
I remember there was a company in our program, and they said, "Yeah, I was like, so what are your numbers?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we just go to the house, we do the work, and then like a month later, we send them an invoice. They don't tell the customer the price up front." And then I'm like, "How do you remember everything you did?" And they're like, "Well, sometimes we don't." What is let's just say someone misses out on $1,000 a week overall in their company because that's 52 grand a year. How much could that impact them when they go to sell?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it depends on the size of the company, but anywhere from 3 to 7, 8 times that. So you're talking a lot of money from a sale price standpoint.
Yeah, because not only are they missing out on how that affects EBITDA, they probably bought material. They probably paid a plumber. So not only that, it makes them look less profitable than they. So not only do they not get the profit, but then they look less, and then that's multiplied. Well, in that scenario, not by much, because if they're not tracking their numbers, they're probably not branded and everything else. But they're missing out. I mean, it's multiplied times 8, so it's almost. I call it the old double dipsy. I just make stuff on the spot, by the way, Patrick. The old double doozy, the damsel in distress times 2, and it's like when we go to a job, and let's say we do a commercial job or something that's net 30, and we go on that job, and then they don't ever pay us. They never pay us. It's like, man, not only did you spend money on that job and not get your money, but you filled that spot, so you didn't make money somewhere else. So it's actually twice as expensive. Owners are always shocked when I tell them, every time you blow $1, it takes $3 to break even. Every time you blow $1, it takes 4 just to get right. And if you spend the time, you spend it in time, now it takes $8 because again, you got to go back and get the money you just missed out on getting, plus the money you missed out on that you could have been getting. And it's like, I'm like, man, money doesn't add up the same way when you start talking about this stuff. It's like 8-dimensional. And I think that's a really valuable lesson for a lot of people is like, man, we all just think we're blowing $1 and we're not. And you just said, man, if you don't track your numbers correctly, $1 could cost you 12. $1 could cost you 24 because you didn't get the dollar plus you didn't get the other dollar. And then if there's actual expense to that, like you spent 50 cents on material or labor, now that's eaten away from the money that you did get. And it just
And the
$1
gas
is 32.
and the insurance on the van, and the insurance on your plumber, and the cost for the lead, and I mean, and the
Times
CSR
12.
answering the phone, right?
Times 10. It's crazy.
piling up.
If you're watching this right now, how many of you are like, oh crap? Come on, tell me right now. Oh crap. This reminds me of when me and my wife used to get tax returns. We do not get tax returns anymore. The government gets a tax return from us, but we used to get tax returns, and it'd be like, you're getting $2,800. We're like, oh, we made it. We made it. We're rich. And then I would go spend the 2,800 mentally, and my wife would go spend the 2,800 mentally, and we'd somehow be in the whole 2,800 bucks by the time we got that check. Because we spent the bill money on the
all year interest free. That's the other part.
And on top of that, that's a whole nother financial lesson.
Right.
But it's just the way we think about money sometimes it's not linear. It's not 1 + 1 is 2 anymore. The stuff quantifies. I don't sleep because I know the numbers, Brandon says. I eat numbers for breakfast. There's a lot of this to boil down to really good bookkeeping. Yeah. Well, just for fun, since we're talking about numbers, there's 3 positions. There's a bookkeeper. They track everything you spend and bring in. You have an accountant. They're kind of like your consultant, your forecaster. They know what's going to happen because of those things. And then you got a CPA, and they basically are just Matthew out of the Bible, the tax collector. They tell you how much to send the government. And they tell you the best ways to not have to send a lot of money to the government. And so those are all very important things. Preston, what's up, brother? Good to see you on here, VIP out of Oklahoma. Not knowing your numbers, Preston, is like waking up to tornado sirens. That's how I would equate that. James Edward Border says, oh, crap. Uh-oh. Oh, crap. Know your numbers. Here's a couple things you got to know: KPIs, gross margins, net margins. Before I go into the plumbers really quick, what's the number one number you see just get butchered, or is there one or two, or what's that look like?
Yeah, it's typically gross sales and net profit. I mean, those are the two biggest glaring ones that we see. When we look at a tax return and look at a P&L, it's always going to be the top line and the bottom line are the first things people are going to go to. So that's really the glaring ones, right? It's everything inside of there is going to add up to that. And you start looking at gross margin, and then you start looking at all the other things that come with it. But those are the two biggest, because that's what everybody focuses on from a valuation standpoint. And we're going to go to first.
Yeah, that's so true. Dorinda said tax refund. What's that? Over on YouTube. Um, Yeah, those man numbers are so crazy. The tracking your metrics, understanding the difference between cash flow and P&L and balance sheet. I've seen companies take a major hit or even go under while they're profitable just because they didn't have their cash flow right, and they didn't know when to spend their money. These can all be major things that are going to keep you. And these little mistakes, like Patrick just said, these little mistakes, $1 mistakes can cost you $8 in the long run, and that starts to add up real fast. All right, the third point we want to talk about tonight is service is the way. Now, when you say that, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's so the position I take is, what is a buyer looking for, right? At the end of the day, if the goal is to sell your business or to grow a business that maximizes value, it's what are buyers willing to pay more for? And at the end of the day, it's service. Hands down, compared to everything else, service is the answer. And in my opinion, running a business, service is the answer, right? A business that's worth a lot of money is a much more enjoyable business to run. And that's what they're looking to buy. So even if you're not building with the ultimate goal to sell, building a sellable business is a much more enjoyable business to run. And service
Well,
is the answer to that.
why is service so much better for when you're selling?
A lot of reasons. One, consistency, right? Consistency of income. I mentioned it on the last training I participated in. I make a lot of people mad when I say the construction side's a race to the bottom, and it typically is. And so a business built on service and repair has repeat revenue, has better customer relationships, has better relationships with your employees or your plumbers. They have better, happier customers, more online reviews, less marketing spend. The list just goes on and on and on. But loyal, right? You're in the customer's home more often. There's opportunities to add more value. As a result, you have an opportunity to earn more money. Your technicians or plumbers have opportunities to earn more money. It's better relationships with your office. It's all those things, and it's scalable at the end and predictable.
Yeah, when we talked during the training, or I remember maybe we talked offline a little bit, but I remember you telling me like um, service is the way, but then you listed some fears that buyers have. So what's that look like? What are some of the fears they have so the audience can correlate back why they value those things you just said? What are their fears?
Well, it's losing technicians or plumbers and losing customers. Right at the end of the day, that's what they're buying. That's all they're buying, right? And so they believe that a customer that's built on service and repair is not necessarily the customer who's looking on Google every day for the cheapest plumber, right? They're calling up their plumber who they have a relationship with because they've had service with them. It's been a good experience in the past. They know the plumbers, they know the people there, and so it's a deeper relationship, and that's really what they're getting. And then if you have consistent revenue and you're able to pay your people year round and you're able to pay them a living wage, you're able to take care of them, they're going to be more loyal. And that's the second half of what they're buying. And so their fear is, if it's sporadic and it's all on advertising and marketing, then that's a cheap customer that's going to go someplace else anyways. And so they're not buying loyalty, they're buying somebody who looks for ads all day long. And if they don't have the work and the consistent revenue to keep the technician or to keep the plumber, then they're going to leave as well. So what are they actually buying? It's nothing. They're buying a bunch of vans is what they're buying in that case, and that's what they're scared of.
Yeah, someone wrote getting the right customer, not getting the right customer is the race to the bottom. That's really what you're saying. And I think a lot of times we get lost in service of saying like, well, the right customer has to be the right homeowner. Nah, I do not. You give me a homeowner with a problem and I got opportunity. I don't care about what anyone says. Like, oh, they're just worried about price. Yeah, until they go look for watches or shoes or boats or things that they value. The problem is you're treating yourself like a commodity and they're treating you like one too. And I think that's the big separator here that you have with service. That's why I love service. I love service because the person paying for it is the person experiencing it. And I love that because now I can actually serve them. I can create an environment that they value. Look, I don't care if they got Wagyu steak in the back of the 7-Eleven. I'm never gonna buy Wagyu steak from the 7-Eleven. Just give me my ice, give me my core protein power and I'm out. And it better be cold. And I expect that. It's a commodity. You don't want to be a commodity in service. You don't want to be a commodity in plumbing. If you're a commodity in food, you're fast food. Now you got to provide convenience. If you wait more than 2 minutes for your burger at McDonald's, you're mad. And what you sell is what you buy. And so this idea of service is such a big deal. Now there's another piece of this equation too, cash flow. So there's the service side of things where I feel like as a plumber, when I go into a home, I can actually impact their life. I can improve their life. I can give them an experience. I can come up with creative suggestions. I was on a call earlier today, water hammer, every time they use the dishwasher. And got to look in, and water heater's 8 years old. So then I looked at the PRV. PRV's 8 years old. Expansion tank's 8 years old. Expansion tank's full of water. And I'm like, oh, we need to swap out the PRV. Took a pressure test. Pressure's at 80. It drops down to 40 when I turn on the hose bib. So I'm like, okay, let's go check this out a little bit further. So we offer up those as an option. Well, then when I tested the pressure at the water heater, I noticed the water coming out was a little rusty. So I said, maybe it's time for a flush. So we said that in option 2. Also, toilet rebuild, because she had one old toilet in the house that hadn't been replaced. I thought, let's just go ahead and make sure that fill valve isn't causing a problem with this water hammer. So we went ahead and threw that in as a doozy, just a little double doozies to help them out, Patrick. And that was kind of what we did. And then we offered up, if she wanted to get early, go ahead and replace the water heater early. Is obviously, I told her it's working great. It's premature. But if she wanted to go that route, we'd do the PRV expansion tank, and I'd probably just slap a new toilet in to kind of help the situation, get all of her toilets up to speed. She went with option 2. And that's service. If you do that and it's a non-contractor, they just want you to put the PRV in. And it's a commodity. Cheap. You say cheap? Yeah, cheap. Yeah, because it's a commodity. And that's why I love service. Now, I want to talk a reason why we both love service, cash flow. Can you explain the difference between how that looks when you're doing contractor work? I'd say 2 parts. Number 1, the cash flow side of it. And then you mentioned earlier they're afraid of losing plumbers and opportunity. How fast can they lose big revenue by losing one customer in construction or whatever versus in service?
Yeah, and here's the reality of it, and this is not necessarily anti-contractor, but it is, I guess. They would slice their own mother's throat to save 50 cents, right, on a project and add profit on there. And so that's the other part of it, I think. When you look at that, you're being hired to do something cheap so they can make more money, but then you're putting your sticker on the side of it, right? And so when the customer calls, they're calling you saying, hey, why doesn't this work right? And you have to say, because I was cheap so I could get the job for the contractor. They're not mad at the contractor. They're mad at you for whatever you put in that's not working. And so unfortunately, it's not a good model from a building standpoint. You're at their mercy. They're going to pay you whenever they feel like it, which isn't very often. The other part is you can't control your schedule, right? You're going there when they tell you to go there. If they're behind, now you've got to move your schedule around. And if you have to wait on them, now you have to move around. And if somebody knocks something down that you were working on, you've got to get it figured out. Meanwhile, the customer, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowners, calling your office saying, hey, I've got these 5 issues at my house, and you have to say we can't get there because we're over digging ditches at the contractor's place who's probably not going to pay us. I mean, mathematically, it's just not in your favor when you're doing it. I understand people who are getting started and you have to pay their bills, right? At the end of the day, you've got to make enough money to make it happen. But that's not a business, a profitable model long-term. You're a slave to their schedule, you're a slave to their price book, and you're following them around because they're going to pay you when the next job's done kind of thing. And it's just not a way to do it. And when they say, hey, we're 2 weeks behind, and you've got a plumber who is supposed to be there for the next 2 weeks, what are you going to do? you've got to find work for them to do somewhere, or send them home and not get them paid. So it's just not the answer from a profitability standpoint all the way around.
Yeah, and then when you're replacing people because they quit because they found a job that's a little more steady. Now there's a cost of onboarding, there's a cost of all the training and the new man. It's a cycle. And one thing I would say too is think about it like this. I'll equate this to gambling. If you don't have a big pocketbook, if you got just a few bucks in your wallet and you go to the casino, you're going to be limited to a big payoff on a slot machine with low odds, or you can go play blackjack. But if you go to the craps table, you better bring a bankroll with you. And in the same way, if you're going to do commercial or contractor work where you net 30, net 60, you better bring a bankroll with you. And I want to explain that really quick. In the service business, in the service world, what happens is you go to a home and you quote it. Most of the time you can get the material on credit. Even for 30 days, you can get it on some sort of an account. And then you don't pay your employee for another week, right? They work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The weekends you pay the following week. So by that time, you've already collected the money from the homeowner before you pay for the materials and before you pay for the labor. So in that way, you're getting the money first and then you distribute. In contractor world and commercial world, where it's net 30, you distribute and then you get reimbursed later. And it just takes a couple people not paying before that becomes a real problem. Or even just having some big sales where you don't collect a deposit, and that can become a real problem. And the last little piece of that, like you said, if I've got 1,000 contractors, or if I got 1,000 customers and I'm doing, I don't know, I'm just making this up here, 10 million a year or whatever, and I got 10 contractors and I'm doing 10 million a year, that's not going to be viewed the same way.
Right.
Because they know they can lose one contractor faster than they can lose 100 customers. And so the risk of going backwards is far greater with the smaller base customer count at the higher customer lifetime value than at the higher customer base and the lower customer lifetime value. And I don't think a lot of people get that. Am I missing something there, or is there anything you should add to that?
No, I 100% correct. Every buyer or every educated buyer, when they call me, they're going to ask, is there customer concentration, right? Are they relying on a few key people? And many plumbers, and heating and air as well, I sell heating and air and plumbing. Many of them think, well, I've got these key group of people and they always pay me, right? They whittled it down from the 25 others who didn't pay them. And now they're down to the 5 that actually pay them. And they're at their mercy. Well, a buyer views that as a negative. One of them leaves, one of them becomes loyal, one of them has a bad year, one of them has a bad job, and now you could have lost 10, 20, 30% of your revenue. And now you're scrambling, right? If you lose one homeowner and you've got thousands of homeowners, you don't like it. It's not a great thing, but business can plug along. You lose 20% of your revenue on one phone call and your business could shut down.
Yeah, GT Plumbing, I don't quite get what you're saying there. Bigger risk of general liability getting hit in service. Unpack that a little bit more. Travis says, if you want to pay in 30 days, you can finance and pay the finance company in 30 days. Fine and dandy. That's funny. I definitely want to provide solutions for my customer in those scenarios. I've even seen where insurance gets involved and people just go ahead and finance it interest free and then they get their money back and they figure it all out afterwards, 100%. But I know for me as a service plumbing company, I want to make sure we give you the greatest service possible, and I need to protect our margins in order to do that. And I do that based on cash flow, based on profit margin. And the flip side, if I can find a way to make my guys be on a job site longer and plumb longer, the customer can get more bang for their buck, more return on their investment as well, because we're not spending our time driving around all day long, burning fuel. Yeah, service is the way, cash flow. Something before we go into this final point, the last topic or the last thing we talked about, getting to know your numbers, I wrote something down that I wanted to make sure everybody hears. A lot of people ask me, Chris, you say it's not about the money, it's not about all this, but then you talk about tracking your numbers. Absolutely, because numbers are a scoreboard. Numbers are an absolute scoreboard. They're a way to know if you're doing well in any given area. They don't lie to you. They don't make you feel better when they shouldn't. They don't make you feel worse than when they don't. If you're tracking things correctly, you know how you're doing. Now, I like to scoreboard against myself, meaning I just want to get better every day. I'm not worried about what my competitors are doing or whatever everyone else is doing. I just want to get better every day. And that scoreboard helps me for my plumbers to know if they're providing amazing service, if people trust them, if they're diagnosing deep enough, if they're producing, if they're actually efficient, they're not just wasting their time in the truck. And I think all of that stuff matters. All right, Patrick, this final point, process, number 4, process. And I'm going to have you just kind of go here for a second because I want people to understand that you can't sell someone your job. Like you got to sell someone an opportunity that actually produces on its own. Can you talk about what they look for in process? And then when you get done with that, we're going to say goodbye. And then I'm going to spend about another 10, 15 minutes tying this all together for everybody.
Yeah, so people are wanting to buy systems, right? If you back to and it kind of all ties into the first ones. If you're doing everything and every Google review is you and you're the best plumber, the best salesperson, the best CSR, and you leave, the business shuts down. And so they want to be able to buy a business that can run without you, just like hopefully you would want to own a business that can run without you, right? At the end of the day. And so having the processes and people and systems in place so it can create predictable revenue and have predictable systems over and over and over again is absolutely what a buyer's looking for.
So do you think, let me just ask you this. Do you think that if you were if you were to sell a company and company A comes in, they're all branded, they're doing all the stuff we talked about. They know their numbers. But they don't have any handbooks, they don't have any processes written down. They don't even have an org chart that's just got some key people working there making it happen, and you got all these employees, everybody's what is that value comparative to another company just like that? Same name, same brand, same look, same feel, but they've got everything mapped out as far as what each position does, what each process is, the org chart, who's doing what, the assimilation projection, meaning a guy who comes in as an apprentice, they can clearly see how they can get to general manager, or a CSR can get to general or whatever, right? What is the value difference between those two?
Night and day. I mean, that's the only way to describe it, right? And it too is going to tail down to profitability, right? If you're having to teach different things all day long and people don't know what they're doing or who they're going or what's happening or what the next step is, it's disheveled and it results in a lower profit margin at the end of the day. So that's the first part. The second part is if you can meet with a buyer and say, here's my business in a booklet and here's the numbers that correspond to it, it's night and day. And now it's not only a plumber that can buy your business, it's anybody who's looking to buy a business can buy your business. And to me, the more buyers that you open it up to, the more price competition it creates, and at the end of the day, the higher selling value that you have.
So good, because I think just we all want to copy, like look, like we want to get the van wrap because someone else got the van wrap. We want it, but we don't really know why we're doing it. And you're not just doing things, you're actually building a story. You're building a case. You're putting together an offer, an irresistible offer where someone's like, I gotta buy that. I gotta buy that business. And this is true whether you're a plumber working, you show up to the job site, you're like, man, I gotta do. So many people are like, oh, people are about price. But then I hear a lot of people say all the time, well, we were higher, but they went with us. Well, what do you think is going on there? You think they're just like, man, I really wanted to spend more on this water heater? No, they saw at a value that couldn't be measured. They saw a value that couldn't be written down. They saw a value they knew when they saw it, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. And when you got this person coming in to buy a business, there's going to be little things where maybe everyone's saying it's a 7 times multiplier on this amount. Maybe they're willing to go 8 because they got to have your business. Is that possible, Patrick?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're looking at other businesses just like customers are looking at other plumbing companies when they pick one. A buyer's looking at other listings out there, right? And they're going to look and say, what has the most opportunity? What has the least amount of work? And what can I come in and pour gasoline on and grow? And so there's competition for business on your end, and there's competition for business on the buyer end.
And it just the world just keeps spinning. So it's not like it starts today over here, it ends right there, and then we move on to it. You're constantly communicating to all these people all the time, future employees, future customers, future buyers for your company. There's levels to this. Thank you so much for coming on here. You're such a gift to the trades. And I hope that if anyone wants to reach out to you, how do they?
My website would be the first, businessmodificationgroup.com. I'm active on social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Patrick Lang at Business Modification Group. If I could answer any questions or help out, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help anyone I can.
Businessmodificationgroup.com. Tyler, type that into the comments on both YouTube and on Facebook. Or if someone's watching or someone can help us out, businessmodificationgroup.com. businessmodificationgroup.com. Patrick at businessmodificationgroup.com if you want to reach out to the man, the myth, the legend directly. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on here. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I had a fantastic time. Have a great night.
You too, sir. Okay, GT Plumbing said that they unpacked their question earlier. They said a new construction, a flood under construction can be easily fixed and cleaned. Service, a flood can easily happen after apprentice leaves the jobs on a finished home, causing major damage. Yeah, everything's possible. That same apprentice driving to your new construction job could total the van and kill a family. Everything is possible. You got to make sure you're hiring the right people, taking the best measures that you can to reduce risk. But for this right here, I would say a lot of times a really good relationship with a restoration company can bail you out of problems like that. I know for the companies that we coach and train, we typically see about a 1 callback a month or less per tech. So you really not as much as you might think. And just as many companies as I've coached and as many, anytime plumbing's on here, they're, $5, $10 million, $20 million. They got 30, 40 employees. It might even be more than that. I'm not sure anymore. They did a $1.5 million lining job all by itself. So they do a lot of revenue. They have tons of trucks, tons of employees. And we're just not seeing that be true. Yeah, the bad things happen, but the good things happen too. And with the cash flow being right, it really solidifies and protects you from any of those kinds of things. Look, I really hope you guys got this tonight because the positive footprint, this brand, professional uniform, van wraps, all these things, the reviews, responding to the reviews. He's talking about how they help you on your multiplier, they help you on your business. And if they're helping you there, the person who's buying the business as an opportunity, they're buying it for an opportunity. They see the value for a reason because they know the customers are attracted to that. They understand that the customer is attracted to that. And so they know that you've done the work, you've built the thing, and that they can go run with that and make money with that. And so you got to have your positive footprint out there. You got to have your van wraps, your yard signs. And stop putting your phone number on everything. It's 2026. Like you just want your brand seen. You want your name seen. You want people to be like, man, that's sick looking. No one ever got excited over a phone number. I know like, oh, but people get our phone numbers. Okay, I'm sure they do. I believe all of that. But you can't convince me that they couldn't get your number if you didn't put it on there. That's the piece no one ever thinks. But I had this lady call me and say she got my number on the van because your number was on the van. But I've had a lot of people call me and say, we seen your van. They didn't say we got your number off the van because they can't because it's not on my van. But how'd they call me? I remember Vince is watching right now. Vince has a big shop. And he goes, I had a lady call me one time complaining our number wasn't on the yard sign. I was like, how'd she get your number? And he was like, touche. Touche. Wendy in the house. Ryder P. Malone's. I may have said that wrong. Advantage Plumbing, LLC. Basically the Marvel hero of plumbing. Tim Bryant, what's up? So many people watching tonight. He said, no phone number on the van. What was this? No phone number on your truck. Yeah, no phone number. I get killed for that one, man. I love the comments on the internet about me. They're just amazing. You get so many loving folks out there. Thank you for the info. You're welcome, Mike. I love you, bro. Got to find the right brand. King Rooter, bro. Your brand is sick. I wonder who did it. Is it okay to have it on the back? Yeah. For those wondering, I do put the van wrap number. I put the number on the back of the truck and my website because that's where people are parked behind me and sitting for a period of time, but not on the sides. Not on the sides, bro. We appreciate you building our team and helping me to make that change, bro. It's been a big blessing. We rebranded anytime as well. You don't have time to write it down anyway, Wendy says. Absolutely right. I mean, this is a company, Cornwall Plumbing. Wendy, I think she's not the owner, but she kind of really keeps the owners in check. We'll say that. She keeps the owners in check. The reason for the season. And they do these big, huge wraps. They don't have any numbers on the side. They got one of the brothers has the Tesla riding around with the wrapped up, looking tight, popping and locking. Yeah, King Rooter, you're the best branding company in town until you see the phone number on the side. Trust Rooter says, thank you for your time. Yes, a beautiful wrap van is a billboard on wheels. That's so true. Yeah, you had yours done by Dan Antonelli. Speaking of which, we got Dan Antonelli coming up as a guest. Tyler, put it in my ear real quick. When is that date? But we got Dan Antonelli coming up. He's going to be on here dropping his knowledge, branding. If you haven't read his book, Branded Not Blanded, it's a great book. Oh, my gosh. I don't want to brag, but I got a signed copy. I'm feeling pretty special. I appreciate that. Thank you for your contact. Just started following you. You're welcome. You're welcome. April 6th. April 6th, we got Dan Antonelli coming on here talking about branding. Hey, look, if you want to implement all the things that he said you need to implement, I'm going to make a shameless plug. I hear this all the time. People are like, I didn't even know you do coaching. We do. We do all coaching. We do training for your techs. We do training for your CSRs. We do training for every position. We coach owners with systems and frameworks. And we also coach owners with a full-on blueprint. Full-on blueprint tells you exactly how to do everything in your business to get these ticket averages, to get yourself sellable, scalable, and to get yourself in a position to win. We have roughly 60 or 70 companies in the program. We don't do contracts. We don't do commitments. You just get in, get out when you want. But most of the companies have been in our program for 5-6 years because we try to do it the right way. There's some rumors on the street that say we don't. I challenge you to test us out, and we'll prove them wrong. We care more about the relationship. We care more about your journey, your story. Really more than anything, we care about the impact we make inside the home. We want to redeem that moment for the customer. That's what I fell in love with. It wasn't plumbing. It wasn't plumbing businesses. And it wasn't money. It was that moment the customer has when they wake up and everything just got ruined because the light fixture leaked, or the wall exposed the spot, or something happens that they're not expecting, and what they hope is minimal ends up being major. And we have a chance to go in and help them through that, advocate for them through that moment. I want to show you how to do it. I want to show your team how to do it. Like we've shown thousands and thousands of others. On any given week, we can have 1,500 people getting training in our program. We want that to be you as well. We love you. Remember to reach out to us, info@theplumbingsalescoach.com, and we can get you more information. And as always, remember, serve your community in everything, not just plumbing. Have a great night. If you want more tips about marketing, sales, and business, type subscribe in the comments and get alerts about future shows. Also, check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and other major platforms. Thanks again for watching The Fresh Approach.
Fresh.